you look at Mars, you look at it, it isn't the Mars you're shown on TV. That's all CGI and paintings. That's fantasy. These people, they don't want us knowing anything. They don't want us knowing anything. The less we know, we're slaves. We're only being told what they want us to know and keep us, cause division, so we'll never get anywhere with it.
Why is that a problem? Why can't you accept that?
What, upset gravity?
Yeah, why would that be a problem in the flat
Because
earth?
because it's a lie.
Don't you think that people who believe in globe earth could just as much be passionate about God and the Lord and Jesus and what he's done for us?
No, because you believe in Satan's deception. You believe in Satan's deception, he's got you straight away. This is Satan's plan. He did state that he was going to take over the world. And he has already got hold of it, because he offered Jesus all the nations. He took him to the top of the hill and says, all the nations could be yours. Now then, he couldn't have done that on a globe model.
Steve, it's great to see you. How are you doing?
Well, I'm fine, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
We have a very challenging conversation today, and we are going to get to the bottom of some of the beliefs that some people out there have about the earth. Now, I know that you believe the earth is flat.
Correct.
And you're even wearing the t-shirt.
Correct.
So tell me about that t-shirt. Tell me what that symbol stands for.
That, sir, is the flat earth. And there's one thing regarding this flat earth map. Where's Antarctica?
Are you asking me? Because
I'm asking you, sir. Yeah, I know you're the interviewer. I'm asking, where is Antarctica on this map?
Well, according to that map, it's probably around the surrounding edges.
Exactly. Exactly. As it states in the Bible, bounds that hold the waters in. And it's the ice wall.
So we can go straight to that. So describe flat Earth for me in detail. Well, I mean, within a few words if you can, but in detail.
Describe it to me.
Yeah.
I'm lost on trying to say describe it to you.
What does it look like? What does Earth really look like?
Well, I believe it is flat. I mean, we have two. Present day, we have two options open to us regarding the shape of the Earth. We have NASA's globe, or we have the Bible's flat Earth. We've got to choose one of those. And with research and using critical thinking and common sense, logic, and your own eyes, you'll see that the Bible's version of the Earth is correct, and the globe system is a satanic, misleading.
So describe what it looks like. So the North Pole is in the middle.
North Pole in the middle. We have Antarctica going around the edge, which, as I said, is holding the waters in. We could say from one version of, I believe it was Captain Cook, who circumnavigated the flat Earth, trying to find a way into the ice wall. He covered 26,000 miles in 3 years, and he couldn't find an entrance into the ice wall, couldn't find an entrance into Antarctica.
So this flat Earth, is it like a disc, flat and thin? Is it got anything underneath?
We can't say how thick it is. It's like, I could ask you about the globe. You see, what we've got to try and understand is, this globe model is very important for the elite. The satanic elite, may I say. Because this globe model is being used to lure us away from our spiritual beings. If you've got to please understand, I've got a lot in here, and there's what with all this.
It's how much you're going to take out all at once, isn't it? Well, let me help you out.
I had something on my head I was going to tell you then.
Yeah.
Then when I started, it vanished.
Don't worry. Let me help you out.
Sorry.
That's okay, because what I wanted to do is a kind of what that sounds like it's getting to, kind of like the conspiracy behind it. But before we get to that, I just wanted to know what we're looking at.
Right, what we're looking at.
Yeah, the Earth is flat, not a globe. It's not even a kind of a semi-arc underneath, as far as you're concerned. It's
I don't
just
know.
flat.
We don't know. We don't know. We do not know, sir.
So it could be a circle with a flat surface.
It could be a circle.
Yeah, a
with
circle as a
flat
sphere,
surface.
a sphere with that's been cut in the middle, for example, or cut the top half, or something like that. I mean, I'm asking.
No, why do we have to keep going to the sphere?
I'm asking, what could it look like?
Well, this is it. We don't know what's beyond.
Okay.
It's as far as I can say. I mean, we cannot, as flat earthers, we cannot go tell you certain things, because one, we haven't got the money to carry out the experiments or to go high enough. And if we did find out anything, how would people get to know? Because the people behind the globe are also behind the suppression of the flat earth.
Okay, so I think that's fair. It's fair to say, how would you know what's underneath it if you can't go there? What about above? So we've got a dome above it.
I believe we have a dome. I believe we have a dome.
Tell me about that dome.
That's the Bible for you. He separated the waters from the waters and created the firmament, which is a dome which ancient peoples of the past, up to 500 years ago, the Mayans, the Incas, the Aztecs, all religions, believed that the earth was flat. And I believe it was in 1482 that we decided that, well, we live on a round ball. Even though we'd never built a skyscraper, hadn't got the aircraft, hadn't been to the North Pole, we hadn't been to the South Pole, but we decided, well, it's round.
So it's spherical.
Spherical.
And it meets at the edges of the flat Earth, would you say?
Yes.
Okay.
We cannot prove that that is the case because we cannot get to the edge. Antarctica is protected more than Area 51 in America. You cannot go down there. Me and you, John, we couldn't say, come on, let's go and have a jaunt down Antarctica. No way we'd get turned back. I have people say, well, I know somebody that went to Antarctica. Yes, I know people that's been to North Korea, but they're only shown certain things. They're not allowed to travel.
So
and Antarctica is vast.
So you're saying that it may or may not meet around the edges?
I'm saying this dome will be coming down somewhere.
It may or may not meet, yeah, okay. But it's round. Whatever it is, it's round. I'm guessing you figured that out as a result of what the Bible says, something to do with the firmament being above us. The water above was divided from the water below and so on. That's where it comes from, right? My first obvious question would be, why does that have to be on a flat earth? You could be on a globe earth. It seems to be two separate things. Even a globe earth believer can believe that there is a firmament above. In fact, before you jump in and tell me, I know some people who say there used to be a firmament above the earth that protected us from certain things. That no longer exists, but let's pretend it does. I don't mind, either way. But some people who are globe earth believers have the view, and have always had the view, that there would be some sort of a firmament above. It seems to be not dependent on it being flat. Even if it were true, I'm granting it to you, saying let's just believe it is. But it doesn't have to be on flat earth. It could just go around the globe earth, couldn't it?
No.
It has to be. Why is that?
Well, I've never heard of a mention to the firmament going around the globe. That, to me, doesn't make sense.
Are you saying, just so I understand, Steve, that it does say that it's a firmament that goes around a flat earth? Or are you saying it says there's a firmament? I mean, I don't know anywhere in the Bible that says there's a firmament on flat earth.
No.
But it does talk about the firmament. I'm giving you that. But why does it have to be flat? Could it not be
Well, the Earth is like
sphere.
it also states in the Bible that the Earth stands out like a seal in clay.
Right.
It's my own fault for not writing these biblical verses down, but there's over 77 verses in the Bible that state it is.
I actually know about the seal, so give me a second.
It is a steel. It looks like stamped, so you don't get a round seal.
The seal you're talking about is Job 38:14, and it says, "It is changed like a clay under the seal, and its features stand out like a garment." And the idea is that the seal would be a flat thing. But it specifically says in the Strong Concordance that it could be a cylinder. And we have pictures of a seal made by those, in those days of when the scripture was written, where the people had seals. And we have examples of cylindrical seals. I've got pictures here. I can show it to you. I can send it to you later on. As well as a flat one. So, but the word itself can apply to both. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay.
I did notice there you went straight to your laptop.
Yes, I did. And
that is your problem, sir.
No, I went to the Bible verse that says Job 38:14.
This is where we're having the problem.
Okay.
This is where we're slightly having a problem.
Sure.
I'll give you an example. I was discussing this with a couple of, I believe there was Jehovah or some preachers in the town. And I mentioned that it was flat, and Isaiah, they always go to Isaiah, is it 41:42, where they say, "And he is sitteth upon
Circle of the earth."
Circle of the earth. That is correct. Right, now, I'm sure you know a difference between a ball and a circle. Because Isaiah does, because later on he mentions he tossed thee like a ball.
Yes.
So he knows the difference between a ball and a circle. This is a circle.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about the circle,
that'll be Isaiah 22:18, isn't it?
22:18.
Yeah, you're familiar with that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Where it mentions the word ball, doesn't it? And it uses
toss
it
thee like a ball
because the Hebrew word for the word used in Isaiah was hug, and hug it means circle, and why didn't it use the word ball elsewhere? Like I said, I will be asking you some questions. So my first question will be that in Job 22:14 it uses the same word, and it says the word hug using the same word, that the Lord walks over the vault of heaven. Now the vault of heaven would be the dome that the Lord walks on. But it uses the same word as Isaiah, where it talks about it being flat. So does that mean the dome is flat? Because that's the same word exactly. Do you think the dome will be flat?
No, the dome's not flat. It's
because the same word used for the dome shape that it talks about the Lord walks over the vault of heaven is the same word hug that's used in Isaiah, where it describes the circle of the earth. But you're saying in Isaiah the circle of the earth means flat earth, but in Job the circle means round dome. So why can't it be flat dome or round for both? Why does it have to be flat for one, round for the other?
I'd have to study that, sir. You've got to understand. We've gone from Isaiah to Job, so I'd have to look in the context. I can't.
Of course,
I can't.
I understand, and thank you for being fair. And you know what? There is nothing better than somebody who's fair, who says, "I don't know. I'll check it out for myself," because otherwise you'll be making it up, and it's worse. They're worse than saying, "I'll check it out." Have you always been a flat earther?
No.
When did you change?
Say 8 years ago.
8 years ago. And what made the change?
I come across a video.
Yeah. By whom?
I cannot remember it, possibly by Eric DeBay, who's a great flat earther. A video on the internet, and I watched that, and straight away, I believe I'm blessed with common sense. I do. I can see everything that's happening in the world. People can't deny it, but it's blatantly obvious to me what everything, and even regarding the earth, it's there. The Lord, don't want you to use calculations to work out where you live. He's put it there in plain sight in front of you. Plain sight. It's only opening your eyes. If you can open your eyes, you've got to try and understand that this globe is very important for the elite. This is why they force it on you at a very early age. This is where you live. At the same time you're taught about the globe, you also believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. But you let the other three drop, but you hang on to the globe, even though there's no evidence of the globe.
So, Steve, would you say what changed your mind is basically watching something on YouTube? That's basically was the start of your journey.
Yes, watching something on YouTube which made me take notice of what my surroundings were, how things were working, how things didn't make sense to what I was being told.
Yes.
I question it. I'm fortunate in that way because I grew up in a system, education system, where we was taught to think, unlike today's children. It's multi-choice, there's no thinking involved. My dad was a great mentor to me because he always used to say, never take for truth what anybody says, always research it. And it's took me a long time, but my research started maybe 15 years ago into other things, and it's branched, and I've gone through a lot, and I'm virtually at the bottom of the rabbit hole.
So, effectively, you've watched something on YouTube, you felt you could do some more investigation, and as a result of that, over some time, you found yourself believing that the Earth is flat for sure, without any doubt.
Oh, definitely. I'm not saying... Oh, dear, damn it. I'm not saying I think it's flat. I know it's flat.
Okay. The next obvious question I want to ask, why is this whole world hiding the idea that it's flat? What do you think people gain from it? I mean, why are they doing it? Why are they not telling us the truth?
Because they're taking away from you, from your true spiritual life. You have become a slave to a banking system, which is run by
Help me to make the connection. How could flat or spherical Earth help me or help those people who are doing this to control one way or the other? How is that happening?
Wouldn't it be, how would you feel? How would you feel yourself? Rather than believe that we're on a globe, spinning through this endless universe, no end in sight. I cannot put the figure on the amount of planets there is. NASA does. They say there's 10 times more planets up in space than there is grains of sand on Earth. Right? Think about that one. Think about that. Right? So you're believing in a God. Now, why there's other stars out there which NASA say, whoa, mega. Now, why would God worry about one little dot, one grain of sand out of all these other grains of sand? Why would he waste his time on that? Wouldn't his creation be better, like he said? Built, and he sat above you. Then you might change if you knew there was something above. Because people are losing the faith. They're luring you away. This is why it's called the solar system, the solar system. They're luring your soul away from Christ. This is the Satan's plan. He did state that he was going to take over the world. And he's already got hold of it because he offered Jesus all the nations. He took him to the top of the hill and says, all the nations could be yours. Is this true? In the Bible?
Yes, it's in the Bible. Yeah.
He took him to the top of the hill and he said to him, all these nations could be yours.
Yes.
Yes? You agree?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Right. Now then, he couldn't have done that on a globe model.
Okay. Can I just ask you to make sure you agree with this? Do you believe that he was in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, as the Bible says?
Well, you see, the Bible, again, we've got to be very, very careful here, because this isn't the proper scripture from years ago. I mean, to get a better understanding of the true reading of the Bible, I believe you've got to be looking at a book before the 1500s.
So can we go back to the Bible, because you use the Bible to say he showed them
showed
the kingdoms of the world. Yes. So you're using the Bible to make that claim. You're not using another book. That's
I'm
the
using the Bible.
But the same book, the same chapter talks about him being in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Well, maybe if it's there, but I can't understand why that's got to do with the globe. That's why I'm just...
Yeah, no, let me tell you what's significant, because the closest mountain to where he went from Jerusalem would have been 4,000 feet high. In order for him to see the nations, he would have had to go to a high mountain somewhere, because he took him to the mountain, didn't he? And the closest mountain would have been 4,000 feet high. And that mountain wouldn't have been high enough because there are other mountains, like Mount Everest, which are, not just that, but multiple other mountains that are much higher than 4,000 feet. Mount Everest would have been about 3,000 miles away. So it will be more appropriate that he puts him on a higher mountain so he can see the kingdoms from there. So how could Jesus have walked to Mount Everest or a nearby high mountain in 40 days and come back again and show him the kingdoms of the world? But even if he had gone to Mount Everest, there are other mountains around which would have obstructed his view. So I've got multiple problems with the idea that that scripture will prove the earth is flat, because he wouldn't have seen all the kingdoms, because there were many kingdoms in India behind Mount Everest that he would have not seen. So how would he have done that? Would it have been a physical, real thing? Or is it a literal thing, which is what you're using to prove the earth is flat?
I don't know. It's like the two penguins walking from Antarctica to get on the Ark.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
You see, there's some things in the Bible that just don't make sense.
We would call that a
times.
miracle. Christians will call that a miracle, where God brought them in 2 at a time and 7 of some. And we would call that a miracle where God brought them in. And if you want to say that's a miracle, that Jesus stood on a mountain and he can see everything, then I'm okay with that. If you're going to call that a miracle, then I'm okay with that. But then, if that's the case, then I would call the whole event a miracle. I would say the whole viewing of the whole kingdoms would be a miraculous event. Rather than him seeing everything because the earth is flat, it would be a miraculous event where he was able to get on top of a mountain, where he could see everything. Now, Christians believe the reason why Satan put him on top of the mountain is for a completely different reason. It's because on top of this mountain, they used to sacrifice for Satan. They used to do sacrifices. So what he was saying is, if you come to the top of this mountain and worship me, I will show you the kingdoms I will give you, then you can come and join me. Effectively, he's trying to deceive Jesus. So we believe the whole event is a spiritual, miraculous event. But if we took it literal, like you just did, then there will be problems with him doing it in 40 days.
Well, I didn't take it literal. I'll just give that as an example, because it states that in the Bible. We was on about the globe, and I'm just saying that if it was a globe, he couldn't have taken him to any mountain and shown him the nations, because there's nations at the bottom.
But Christians will call that a miraculous event. Otherwise, the whole event doesn't make sense. Now, what is above this dome? What do you see above the dome?
God's Lord's kingdom.
So that's God's nothing.
That's all I can say. I mean, I don't know. What is above the dome? We don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody can get up there. We cannot break free from this. And the quicker you can understand that NASA is lying about planets and the moon, etc., and all these landings and that, maybe you find get a bit closer to the God, realising that you cannot go any higher than the firmament.
So just to help me understand, why would people feel that they can control people better if it was a globe? For example, I'm a Christian and I believe the earth is spherical. I feel that it hasn't taken any way from God's glory to create all the galaxies, the stars, the planets. I see his handiwork in the skies. That's what the Bible tells me. The skies declare his glory and his handiwork. I don't see why that takes anything away. I think it adds to his glory to know that he made all these wonderful things that we can look at, rather than take them away, which is what you suggested. By calling it a globe becomes...
You don't mention galaxies and planets in the Bible. You don't mention things like that in the Bible. It's the sun, the moon, and the stars.
But doesn't it talk about the heavens declare his glory?
The heavens declare his glory before, above the firmament. That's the heavens, not what you believe, what you've been told, because you've got, like I said earlier, you've been shown the globe at an early age and you haven't let go of it. And you don't really want to let go of it because it's your comfort blanket. And you can't open your mind. You see people just shut it off. You won't open the minds to it. You've just got to open your mind and look. around you, and you can see it's plain as day that it's flat. There's no curvature. The sun and the moon are only about 3,000 miles above us, which could be, been proven.
Do you think Christians who believe that the earth is spherical are not going to believe that God is sitting on the throne, effectively?
Well, think of it yourself. Like I've just said to you, sir, John, a grain of sand, right? And there's all these other grains of sand, 10 times many more planets in there. Why would God worry about one grain of sand there? Where is heaven for you then? From that grain of sand, when you've got all these others that's going through space at such speed, where is heaven for you, sir?
Okay, well, that's a good question. I mean, are you interviewing me now? I like it. I'll go with that. I'll be the interviewee now. I believe that the Bible talks about the heavens. There are 3 types of heavens. The New Testament talks about the 3rd heaven. The first heaven would be the sky that we look at. The second heaven would be the universe outside our atmosphere. And the 3rd heaven would be the place where God dwells. And we have a verse in the New Testament that talks about Paul being caught in the 3rd heaven. What he's talking about is that he effectively went into a different dimension. He went into heaven where God dwells, in that sense. So when the Bible talks about the heavens in plural, it's referring to all of those. But it seems that you believe that there is no such thing as heavens, because in this case it would be the sky and God lives above this particular dome. So there is some discrepancy between what you're saying and how the Bible describes the heavens in that sense.
But don't all the stars fall to Earth in the end days or something?
Right.
Now, if the stars are falling, that'd be impossible in a globe world.
Right. Now, the Bible has a different way of describing things than we would understand them today's language. Like, for example, a mammal will include a dolphin, but in biblical terms, a dolphin would be a fish, right? So when the Bible talks about fish, it includes everything that swims in the sea. But when we talk about fish, we wouldn't include a dolphin in that, because dolphin would be a mammal.
But you only say it's a mammal because you've been told it's a mammal. If you was to see that in the sea, you'd say it was a fish.
Agreed. And therefore, when the Bible is talking about falling stars, it addresses them in a different way than we would address them. Like, for example, when we look at the sky and we see a shooting star, we don't mean there is a star that's shooting into our atmosphere. So when the Bible refers to things, like, for example, the rising of the sun, the setting of the sun, and things like that, it uses the phenomenological language to describe what's happening from our point of view. It doesn't mean that that would be a science lesson from the Bible. It just means that from your point of view, this is how you see things. Now, I don't understand the conspiracy. I don't understand that very well. Does that include everybody? I mean, does that mean everybody in NASA is included in this? So there's a whole industry that's making money, right? You would agree with me, based on somebody deceiving people. But how about people who do, I don't know, who work in other industries? They supply, say, to NASA would be some people who would probably supply a solar panel that works as an arm for one of the satellites they have, and things like that. There's a whole industry that supply parts that produce things for satellites. Do you think they're in on it as well? Do you think that these industries...
Yeah, or they could work on a need-to-know basis.
So
they don't know they're making it for satellites, or maybe they've been told they're making it for satellites and it just gets shelved, because you've got to understand, all communication is land-based. This is why we have cables laid across oceans. This is why we have towers. There's no such thing as satellites.
Okay, so all these people who are working in the industry producing satellite components.
Well, you say industry. Have you been to a satellite factory and seen it actually in operation? I mean, I'm just being... okay, it could be done in Florida on NASA's bases or whatever have you. But you're only told that. You haven't seen it with your own eyes as such.
I believe... I mean... I'm sorry, forgive me.
No, sorry, no.
No, I need you to...
You're saying all satellite manufacturers, you make it sound as though there are these big factories dotted around with big names on them making satellites. But no, you've been told, oh, this is what we've got, and this is... I mean, the satellite only came out after, was it... Clarke, somebody called Clarke in his book, he wrote a book. Was it Arthur C. Clarke? Was he the conspiracy man? Arthur C. Clarke. I believe he mentioned it in a book he wrote And a year later, I believe Russia was the first ones, allegedly, to send a satellite into space. It's more deception.
So does that include the employees? Because there are hundreds and thousands, even
Well, you
hundreds
see,
of thousands.
they're like yourself, sir. They believe the globe. So they're going to believe what they're shown. They're so ingrained in it. It's called cognitive dissonance. You can't let go. They're so ingrained with it, brought up, interest in it from a very early age. It's pumped into you.
What about, do you think, satellite, GPS, sat-nav providers? Do you think they're in on it as well? Because they're telling us the technology is working
They use the word
around.
sat, but it's all land-based. It's all from towers. Everything's triangulated, and that's all. It is.
No satellites.
No satellites. No satellites, sir.
In that case, can you perhaps you can help me with this one then?
Well,
Have you heard of satellite phones?
Let's just go right. Okay, satellite phones, satellite TV. Isn't it funny? Nothing ever hits these satellites. Not one of them has a breakdown. You don't get a fluctuation and you're telling you, oh God, the satellite's gone down. We've got to wait now another month before they get another one up. No, it works perfectly, continuous. Nothing ever breaks down. But in today's world, everything breaks down, doesn't it? But satellites.
So, it's satellite phones. Have you heard of satellite phones?
No.
Okay.
I think I may have heard the term, but not.
Well, satellite phones are little devices that work specifically in places where there are no telephone towers. You can take them to deserts with you. And in fact, when I used to run a business, I used to provide satellite phones. And people used to say, I'm going to a place where there are going to be no mobile towers. And I need something that allows me to do telephone calls. If you are in the sea and in a boat and you're trying to make calls where there are no towers, you take with you a satellite phone, because that's how you communicate with people who live on land, because you're miles and miles and hundreds, possibly thousands of miles away from the closest landmass or an island. So if it's all tower based, how are these phones working?
What, these satellite phones? I mean, you just put that to me, and
I mean, you do know that boats, like cruise boats, I mean, you can take a Mediterranean cruise boat and be in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story, because this is funny. My wife went on a cruise once. She had to go without me because she was going with her mother, and I missed her, so I made every phone call I could. Eventually, I managed to get a satellite phone number of the captain of that boat. And I contacted him, and they had to announce it publicly in order for her to take the call. She took it on a satellite phone. Help me to understand how she spoke to me.
Well, they do have balloons up there with high-tech. I mean, there's footage of that on TV. If that might be your satellite factories making these balloons that go up, and maybe that. I cannot put I cannot really answer that. That's the only option I can come up with: balloons, or there's some more, or there's something else there that they're not saying. I mean, it's like we've got satellite TV, but it isn't satellite; it's ground-based. So they're using the term to make you believe that there's satellites up there. Regarding the satellite phone, I don't.
So
know.
that will mean everybody who works for the factory, I mean, there are loads of them, by the way, because that's how you can get satellite phones working in deserts. That's how you can get sat-nav working everywhere, because they're triangulation with the satellites. There have to be loads of them for that to work.
When you go about satellites, one, you see alleged live footage from the ISS, which I smile about. Never ever a satellite. We never see a satellite cross in front of the moon when it's full at night. We never. There's nothing up there. There's supposed to be 17,000 plus satellites going around us. Which, when you're thinking that we're moving at 66,000 miles an hour, and then the sun's moving at 500,000 miles an hour, which takes us to roughly 500,000 miles an hour, because we've got to keep up with the sun, and all these satellites are staying with us. We feel no draft. It just doesn't make sense. It's fairy tales. That's where it all happens. It's all magic up there. It's not science, it's magic.
So I'm going to ask you a question about that. The Earth spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you don't feel it. You know Einstein and the special theory of relativity?
Theory.
Yeah, you understand that?
Theory.
Theory, yeah.
Theory.
So
not
the
proven.
idea is that if the Earth was spinning and we're on top of it, everything spins with it. Therefore, you wouldn't feel the wind that you're talking about. But you would disagree with that. I appreciate that. But do you agree that if you're in a car that's moving at, say, 100 miles an hour, and lick your finger and put it inside the car, you wouldn't feel the air hitting your finger, do you? Because inside the car, everything goes relative to the speed of your car, and that's called the special theory of relativity that Einstein came up with. Everybody within their environment, whatever speed they're going at, to them, everything is not moving. But to the outside, it will be moving, but to them it isn't. So if we're inside this globe, it could go at 1,000 miles a second, and it wouldn't matter, because special relativity tells you that that would not matter. Like in the car,
So are you saying we're in an enclosed system then? We've got to be in an enclosed system for that to work.
In a fashion, we are, in the sense that we are in an atmosphere, but you're saying we're in an enclosed system. And
Yeah,
I'm saying,
we're in an enclosed system but not moving. I'm saying we're in an enclosed system but we're not moving.
Well, it would be enclosed.
You're trying to get us to believe that we're in an enclosed system, and we're supposed to be in an enclosed system. We're supposed to be in a pressurized system.
Enclosed system means something different to you than it would mean to me, of course, because enclosed in the sense would mean, even if the windows are wound down, inside the car, everything would still behave the way I just described, because inside the car, everything is working according to this law. And therefore, everything inside our Earth would work the same way. And that's why Einstein's theory works, and they apply it to the universe, they apply it to the Earth, and therefore people wouldn't say things like you just said. So, Steve, what you need to know is that some people out there who are hearing you right now.
I know that the interview's not going well because I'm just not hitting it on the head at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Don't worry. I don't absolutely do not worry about that. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. There are some people who are going to hear you today say, if I put my finger up in the air, I don't feel it. Who are going to say, well, Steve is not familiar with the theory of special relativity.
Oh, the theory. What's a theory?
Well,
theory, an idea.
Right. Well, there are some things. We are some things we'll agree with that, but you wouldn't disagree with the practicality of that theory.
It's
you
like
wouldn't
the theory of gravity. It's only an idea. Cannot be proven.
Okay. We'll move on from Einstein then. We'll go to gravity, because you brought that up. Help me understand how gravity works in the flat Earth.
Well, gravity, it's just buoyancy and density. That's what it is. By that, if that falls down to the ground, because the molecular structure of that is denser than the molecular structure surrounding it. So hence it will fall. This is why maybe a balloon rises, because helium is lighter than air. So balloon rises. Happens in water. Drop a brick in water, it will sink. Drop cork in water, it will float. Take yourself to a cliff at the seaside. Jump off the cliff, you'll say, gravity's pulling you down. But once you hit the water, you stop, because the water is denser than you are. So gravity's not pulling you down no more. Well, it should be if it's as strong as I say it is, by holding all these trillions and trillions and trillions of gallons of water to the ocean. So that's all that is, buoyancy and density. If you do it with various liquids and put things in, you'll see things float. Gravity don't goes up and down.
So to make sure I understand then, you're saying that because my pen, for example, is more dense than air, naturally it'll go down because air goes up and this thing comes down. But if it was lighter, like helium, then that will go up because air is heavier. So air comes down, pushing this one up. I understand that. So my first obvious question would be, why would the air come down? The air is all around us. Why down? Why can't it be sideways, up, left? It's just weird that it's choosing that direction. Why would it choose that direction?
It's the weight of it. It's a natural thing to go down. If something this heavy is not going to go to the side, it's naturally going to drop.
But in density and buoyancy, there is no concept of weight. There is because weight suggests there is something pulling down.
Yeah, the concept. The brick is weighty, so it goes to the bottom. Cork floats.
I see.
Because it
Okay.
hasn't got the weight.
I understand. So something in air would cause something to come down because of the way the air is behaving. Am I right so far?
Carry on. No, this comes
If
down.
air is behaving in a certain way, causing my pen to come down because it's more dense than air, or air is behaving in a certain way that's causing the balloon to go up because of the air coming down. So air is doing the work here because it's a comparison between air. That and air is doing something that's making something go up or down. Am I right?
Well,
Is that what's happening? Density and buoyancy with air would
Yes.
mean that because this is more dense than
then
air,
it
it's coming
knocks it
down. So it's
yeah.
kind of a comparison with
Yeah,
air.
water, yes, comparison
But
water.
with water, it will be comparison with water.
Same.
So if I
Same.
put my pen in water and it's heavier than water, it's going to
It's
come
going to go
down.
down bottom, it's not going to go to the side, is it?
No, it's going to come down.
It's
Right.
going to come down.
So
To the
in
right.
air, outside here, this environment we hear, air is the controlling factor of why things are going up and down. Would you say that would be the case?
Well, no, not the case. No, the weight of the object is the matter of...
I get it, but it's in comparison to the air. It's relative to the air. The weight of the object is in relative to the air, because that's buoyancy density. Yeah, that's what
Right.
we're talking about. Am I right or misunderstanding? Okay. So if I brought in a chamber, say a big chamber or a room, and take all the air out, so it becomes vacuum. There is absolutely nothing there. You can shout. You'll never survive in a vacuum like that. But you can shout, and nobody can hear you because there's no air. Because air is what's used to make your voice travel. And I put, say, a feather in this chamber,
Yes.
but there is no air. So there's no density of buoyancy with the air. What would happen to the feather? Would it float or go upwards, or what would it happen?
You tell me, you're the one...
Yeah, but
on
what
the
would-
vacuum thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
What do you expect to happen if it's comparison to the air? If air is causing
wouldn't
things
it just
float in space,
go... wander about aimlessly in the chamber?
it will aimlessly wander in the chamber. That's what you would think. Yeah. But that would be the obvious conclusion to come to if air.
Because if it's not... can't drop,
Yeah.
it's not going to rise. So if it's vacuum... I've never been in a vacuum, actually.
Well, don't, because you will die. But if you were to do a vacuum.
Right. Is space a vacuum?
Well, before we get to that, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to explain. But in a vacuum, you would expect, because there is no air and there is no interaction with buoyancy and density with the air, the feather would move around kind of weightlessly, effectively. Yeah?
Yeah.
What if it came down? How would you feel about that?
What if it came down in the
It's so fast, faster than if it was in air, because there is no friction. Would you be surprised?
Well, again, it's a thing I'd have to look into regarding the vacuum and how a vacuum actually operates as such.
But
Not
if
a
air,
thing
I'm
that
sorry.
I've looked into, sir, sorry.
So if air was the reason why things were going up and down, and I take the air out and it still comes down, then it kind of messes up the theory a bit, doesn't it? Okay.
But you see, we're going on to the depth of things. It isn't about trying to do me over with scientific stuff that they're feeding you. I'm trying to get to see it through your own eyes without listening to maths and physics and science, which has been put together to fool you. I mean, we just mentioned space. Is space a vacuum? They say it is.
It's a lack of air, but it's not completely void of everything.
Well, I mean, again, it's like things I heard this morning. One channel says one thing, another one says another, and then the middle one says something completely different. And this is what's happening with this. You saying now a vacuum has so much air, so it's not a vacuum then.
Well, nobody would say space is void of any properties. It's.
Where is your information from this? This is from a book, I take it. Would be a book.
Sure. I didn't go up there and check.
Yeah, this is it. Now, who's wrote that book? Have you met the guy?
I wouldn't say I have. No.
No. So what if I?
I've met people who actually have studied this and have got more knowledge of this.
What if I was to say that 95% of the publishing houses are owned by the people that are pushing the globe model, so they push it to their agenda, like they use all media to push to their agenda?
Sure. I mean, if we want to say that people out there are deceiving us and writing books.
I've told you.
Okay.
Antichrist is in charge, mate.
Okay.
Antichrist is in charge. You're a Christian. You're interesting times now, because you're seeing the beginning, the start of the Satan's takeover. This is the start. You're living in serious times at this present moment. Satan's making his move now. Within 5 years, most of us will be enslaved.
Why can't it be the other way around? Why can't it be that Satan is deceiving people to think the earth is flat, and that's his move?
No, he's deceived, trying to take you away from that, because this is why he's come up with the globe model, to take you away. Again, like I say.
What do you think about the universe? You don't think it's a vacuum?
Well, no, I mean, again, it's different books tell you them. You just told me a certain amount of air in there, not that it's a vacuum.
No, I didn't say there's any air. No, I'm saying it's not void of everything.
Not void of everything.
No, I'm just saying that it's just the atmosphere. It does not exist.
If it is a vacuum, that throws anything regarding satellites in space, going to the moon, out of the window. ISS.
Why would that be?
Because how can a vacuum meet with a pressurised system? We're supposed to be living in a pressurised system, so how can a vacuum meet a pressurised system without a solid barrier? If you've got a can of airspray, that's pressurised inside. You go like that. Everything.
Right. You see, that's a misunderstanding of the atmosphere. That wouldn't be the way the atmosphere is viewed by astronomy. Well, I'm going to explain to you how astronomy works in the atmosphere, and then you tell me your take on that. Yeah? The atmosphere is pressurized only because the Earth is pulling on it. So your understanding of atmosphere and pressure is not the same. That's why you're attacking it. So it's kind of what they call a straw man fallacy. A straw man fallacy misrepresents what the belief is. If I misrepresent what you believe about flat Earth and then try to tell you you're wrong, then I would be wrong, because I would be misrepresenting you. And I'm saying you're misrepresenting the system and then saying this is why it doesn't work. All we believe is that the Earth is pulling in. It's a reverse, by the way. It's the reverse of what you believe. The Earth is pulling in because of gravity. And that gravity is holding the atmosphere together. If we were to go outside this atmospheric pressure, then you couldn't survive, because your entire structure is based on living under such atmospheric pressure. Steve, all I was trying to say there is, in order for you to be unhappy about a view, to say this wouldn't work, is for you to understand what they're saying, for your claim to be more sound and received well. Now, I know you don't believe with flat Earth society, at least from the point of view of the gravitational acceleration that they talk about, the Earth accelerating upwards. Tell me why you don't like that. I mean, I don't like it either, but I'm asking you, why don't you like it?
It's just the Flat Earth Society is just a tool which is controlled by the ruling elite again. Satan and his people get directed to there, and you're fed a lot of nonsense about elephants being underneath and it's moving.
Right.
All that thing. I mean, so it's far-fetched.
Oh, is that right? I mean, I read the Flat Earth Society. They don't mention any elephants under the Earth pushing it upwards that I know of. I mean, I could be wrong.
Pushing up something like it. Yeah, something like that. And
okay.
It just so it puts people off. I mean, it's like what we get on the internet, gatekeepers. You know what I mean? They'll feed you so much truth, and then they'll sprinkle lies all over the place of it to put you off the
Steve,
subject.
are you sure that the Flat Earth Society says something about elephants?
I've
seen
it somewhere. I've seen it somewhere. There's 2 elephants or something. One belief system, anyway. But
I don't think the official. I mean, so that we don't misrepresent them. I don't think the official one.
But you see, we've got to try. I'm saying it's flat. I don't know what's underneath, and I don't know what's above the dome. I am not trying to force people into believing a lie here. Common sense tells me, my eyes tell me, that everything is flat. I've only been into this for 8 years, believing this way. I believed the globe. I had no reason to question the globe. Why should I question the globe? But then one day, something come through, and just using my common sense and eyes, I was just walking around, and you can blatantly see just by looking. I can't keep my eyes out the sky at night. It's so obvious at daytime as well. It's so obvious.
So, Steve, a couple of other things that I'm interested in knowing. What do you think about the sun? Do you think, how big is it, and how far away is it?
We worked it out. It's about 30 miles wide, and it's 3,000 miles high.
3,000.
3,000. That's been proven. That can be proven.
Okay.
I've got that written down actually, so I can
Okay, that's good
show
to know.
you to prove it.
Thank you. Tell me, if it's 3,000 miles high, it's further away when we're viewing it from England. So it's 3,000 miles high, but further that way, it's another 3,000 miles. So it's further away. So sometimes it gets closer, depending on whether we're talking.
It rolls around.
So sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's further away,
That's why
right?
we get the summer, because it's revolving around here.
Yeah.
At present, it's going further out.
So when it's
we're getting winter.
when it's directly above us, it's closer, and when it's not directly above us, it's further away.
This is why you get a 24-hour day in the north, because the sun's constantly there. That's why you see the sun. You wouldn't get that on a globe model.
So tell me, why is it that when we look at the sun, it always looks the same size, regardless of whether it's summer, winter, it's always the same size, but you're saying sometimes it's further away and sometimes it's closer. Something that's several thousand miles further away would kind of reflect on the size, wouldn't it? Especially if it's 30 miles big.
This is the problem. This is things we need, things that need to be looked at, but we haven't got the money and we haven't got the resources to do it, because one, NASA wouldn't allow it.
But you acknowledge that the size looks the same.
I believe it states in the Bible that the sun and the moon were set in the firmament. Now, if that's the case, has that got something to do with it, with the reflection of the size?
Well, it depends on what you mean by saying firmament. If you think a firmament is something with a structure that appears inside a dome, then that's what you're going to say. But it's hard, isn't it unwise to come up with a theory based on something we don't know? Wouldn't it be unwise to say we don't know, therefore it's flat?
A theory is something you don't really know, isn't it? You're just putting something to it.
But you said you know the Earth is flat. You didn't say
well,
it's a theory.
I'd say I'd know it's flat. Yeah, as I said, yeah, I know it's flat. It's flat. It's not spinning. It's not spinning. I can't see no curvature. There's that many conflicting views coming from people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox. I mean, people like that.
What do you think Brian Cox says that contradicts?
Brian Cox, he won't listen. I mean, he did a programme a couple of years ago, a series. I watched the first one. I could have ripped it to bits. But he's just a paid shill. That's all.
What does he say that you don't like? That contradicts. You said contradicts.
It's a globe.
Okay, right. You don't like him saying it's a globe. Okay.
No. Yeah. It's just a lie. It's just full.
So, have you heard of Eratosthenes?
No, I may have done some along with the Pythagorean, Aristotle, and all this lot. Maybe so.
Pythagoras came before Eratosthenes. Yeah. We're talking like 350 BC. According to the shadow, on a certain time of the year, he measured the curvature of the Earth.
That was Copernicus, wasn't it?
No, Copernicus didn't believe in geocentrism. He believed in heliocentrism, didn't he? But Aristophanes said it's globe. By the way, you can believe the Earth.
The two thingy, the shadows.
Yeah.
Now it happens on the flat Earth as well.
It does.
A lower sun. It happens.
Now, I worked out the figures personally. If we assume the Earth is flat, then the sun would be 4,000 miles high, not 3. So how do you reconcile these figures together? You say it's 3,000 miles, but if we use those figures that we know of, we get 4,000 miles if we assume the Earth is flat. How do you reconcile the 1,000 mile difference? That's a third of the distance.
Well, I've marked them. Where I should be looking to. It was some measurement done from. Yeah, straight away. At Macupo, Brazil, and Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, Africa.
Are we sure we're talking about the same guy?
No, this is the flat Earth version to show you that the 3,000 miles.
Do you mind if I take a picture?
You can. Well, it's just a quick. And then you can hand it to John and you maybe look at it.
Shall I send it to your phone?
Yeah. Send it to my phone. Good one.
I'll have a copy to you.
Cool. Accept. That's gone into my pictures. Yeah. It's not a right angle triangle, but I'm happy to work with it.
You can work with that roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
as you
yeah,
can
I'm happy
see,
to do this. I've got a spreadsheet that works out
10
that
foot-
I
10
put together actually.
1033. Well, from Brazil to Equatorial Guinea in Africa is 3,000 miles. At 1033 in Brazil, the sun is at 60 degrees from the Earth, and at 2:33 p.m. exactly the same 60 degrees. So that should give you
Who did the figures, by the way?
the eye. This is a experiment done, and it's on the internet if you wanted to watch it.
Yeah. Is this? It's not based on the Flat Earth Society figures that they used once, because it's exactly the same degrees.
I don't know what
It's
flat
exactly
Earth.
the same distance and exactly the same
Yeah,
degrees.
I don't know what Flat Earth
I
Society
can show
say.
you.
I
I can
don't
show
look
you.
at the Flat Earth Society. The one you should be listening to is Eric Dubay, not the Flat Earth Society.
Okay.
You want to listen to Eric Dubay. I can give you
I'll take his name later. Yeah.
some
definitely,
of his material you can look at
Definitely,
later.
So, Steve, I seem to get conflicting results when I do the shadow testing, because I have done that personally. And I've got a spreadsheet I can show you later.
Right.
I get different results depending on the distance between the two objects that I'm measuring, which seems to tell me there's something inconsistent about whether it's flat or curved. So if it's curved, I always get a consistent result. If I do it based on a flat Earth, I get inconsistent results. Now, based on real figures that I've seen that have been used by Flat Earth Society, and I acknowledge that you don't like them, but based on those figures, they worked out that it was 2,000 miles high. But then elsewhere they said it's actually 3,000 miles high. But when I work it out personally based on the Eratosthenes figures, we get 4,000 miles high. So there seems to be, and I don't doubt the consistencies, because the distance you use makes a big difference. Because if the distance is short between the two places, then you're likely to get a figure closer to being consistent than if you get a figure that's further apart. Like, for example, if you take a shadow between England and Canada, you're going to get a figure that's going to be much more inconsistent with flat Earth than if I took two distances, say, between here and 30 miles away from here, because the Earth is more flat to give you a more consistent figure for the sake of your sun, the height of your sun. But not if you work on very large figures, then the curvature actually makes the big difference. So I'm happy to look at those figures later on. But I want you to know that I'm not coming from a point of ignorance. I've actually have a whole spreadsheet that I've put a lot of time into it. We want the truth, don't we? Truth is what should prevail, right? Not your opinion, not mine. We want to know what the truth is. But we do have some figures, and we can work together. Tell me, have you been to Skegness at all? You have. Have you seen the turbines? Do you know about the Lynx Farm turbines?
Lynx Farm turbine.
Okay, and the Race Bank turbines. Familiar with those? Okay. Well, the Lynx Farm turbines are about 6 kilometers or so away from the Skegness shore. The other ones are more like 30 or 40 kilometers, depending on where you stand and how high you are and the distance from which angle you're looking at it. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the specification according to the government in the UK, all these turbines must have a yellow base that's 15 meters high. Now, all I want to do is this, because I know I can't take you right now there, I can't make you see it, but I'm going to say, go there every single day for the next 365 days. Take a boat from Grimsby. They do exist. You can hire them. They don't charge a lot of money. They're very reasonable. I know this because I called them. Take a boat and go towards those turbines. And as you're approaching it, you start seeing the turbines showing up. Now, I know you're going to call that something to do with the refraction of light, but that depends on temperature of the environment, temperature of the sea, temperature of the atmosphere. I'm saying do that every single day.
Perspective. If I go to the seashore,
yes,
I was always told, if I go to the seashore, oh, look at that ship going over the horizon.
Right.
Going over the curve. Yeah, that's what I was told.
Right.
And the ship goes out of sight. You get a pair of binoculars out, and you'll bring that ship back into view. And when it goes out of sight again, get a telescope out, and you'll bring it back into view.
Okay, so if I told you that I took a
So I
telescope...
dare say them wind turbines with the yellow, if you've
Yeah.
got a powerful telescope,
Yeah.
you'll be able to draw them in, you'll be able to see that.
I
yellow
took a
light above
telescope that's designed to look at Mars.
them.
I
Oh,
took-
don't go with me with Mars, sir.
Okay.
That's impossible to look at.
Okay. I took a telescope. I took a telescope that's advertising. It does approximately 300 times magnification. Should I not be able to see the yellow base for that? You're saying take a telescope.
Yeah,
I'm
I
telling
can't
you.
remember how far.
I
You
tell-
see, I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not
You
clued
said.
up on magnification.
You said.
but yes.
You
I
said take a telescope.
Yes.
And I said I've taken the most powerful telescope I can buy.
Yes.
And I put it there, and I couldn't see it. And then you
Try
told
it.
me. And then you told me I can't use that telescope.
I told you.
Yeah, because you said you can't trust them.
What? Trust telescopes?
Well, because you said I can't see Mars with it.
No, I didn't say that. I said don't go there with Mars because you're saying you're looking at
I
Mars.
just said this- yeah.
There's no such Mars is too far away, too small. You'd never see it.
Okay, but if I use the telescope that's claimed to see something that
Unfortunately.
far, would that be good enough?
If you had a telescope, Nikon P900, you'll zoom in on that.
Okay, so you're going to promise me you're
I
going to try
can
that?
get a good photo with a handheld camera than what you can get with a telescope with a Nikon P900, and the moon's supposed to be 250,000 miles away.
Okay.
So yeah, zoom in.
So the problem is
That's
that
not just the only one.
whenever somebody says, I can do this or I can do that, then the problem occurs that you must go and see it for yourself. Now, that's why I said earlier, have you ever been to Skegness? And I encourage you to go. Because if I told you that I'm getting those figures, you're going to say, no, that's not possible because of something, right? And that's what happens. What happens is that you will tell me this and I would say, no, that the reason why this is happening is because of this. And I come up with a theory. And then you will do the same. That's why I'm saying the best way to do this is to go to a place where you can actually have access to. The lighthouse,
Yeah.
the lighthouse at the Isle of Wight, not many people have access to that, to go there and see it from that distance. But Skegness is right around the corner from where you and I live and accessible to most people who live in the Midlands in the UK. In fact, they can come from anywhere. They've been coming from London to go to Skegness. And all I'm saying is, whatever reason you have, find out for yourself by going there yourself. That's why I'm not saying it, because
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
you'll come up with an answer.
No,
Do
no,
it for
no.
yourself. Do it
Right,
for
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Like, for example, the chamber we talked about earlier, the pressure, you take all the air out, you expect the feather not to fly. I'm saying do it for yourself. You can get a chamber like that. They sell them. They sell them, they hire them. You can do whatever you like. Take it, take all the air out, try it.
But why should I go and waste my money when I know these people are fully liars? They're liars.
Because you want to find out if they really are
Because
liars.
well, your prophet tells you they're liars.
Well, profit can be sometimes an incentive for
If you're a
people to
believer
lie.
in Jesus, you should know he tells you these people lie.
Well, Jesus tells me that we're all liars. We're all wicked in our hearts. So that's what it
Yeah,
tells
but
us.
we're talking about the synagogue of Satan here, who's in control. If there's a God, there's got to be a Satan. If God had a son, Satan's had children. And these children are in charge of the earth.
Okay, it's not very biblical, but I get the gesture behind
Say,
it. I
we're
get
being
the gesture
lied
behind
to,
it.
we're being lied to.
It's not directly theologically.
This is what the light, you see. This more division. This
Yeah.
is what it's all about,
Yes.
division. Everything in society is about division. You know what I mean? And the more division there is, it's easier to control people.
I'm really enjoying this.
I'm not it's going terrible. It's going
Not at
terrible.
all. Not at all. Not at all.
You see,
you-
I find, you see, to discover it yourself, rather than sit down and talk,
Yes.
you've got to open your mind.
Okay.
You're very closed. You're very closed-minded because you're coming back with things that's
Are we not?
space, but there's no space. You've got to, how do I say it?
Don't you think that somebody who believes in globe Earth would say the same thing about the flat earther? You'd say your mind's is closed. You're always saying flat, flat,
no,
flat.
it isn't closed. How can it be? I mean, I've known this for 8 years. I grew up with 52 years with
So
the
what-
ball.
sorry, what I mean-
52 years of the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
What I mean to say is there are easy ways to know whether what you're saying is right or wrong by simple experiments.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that wouldn't that be the same thing as somebody saying to a flat earth, your mind is closed, that's why you won't accept any experiments. So that's why you don't go and find out for yourself. That's why you don't do
I've had
those things.
52 years of the globe being rammed down my throat. 52 years. And this has brought me closer to the Lord. Now, believe me, if you can see it,
Many people say that.
if you see it, you will get closer. I mean, I wasn't religious at all. But on discovering this, my research started at 9/11, but on discovering the flat earth and the links to the Bible and what the Bible says compared to NASA, and then looking into NASA and discovering what NASA's about, I'm full. I'm not going to say I'm been christened, but again, I think religion's just there for division, dreamt up by the Antichrist to divide us, when there's only one creator. And if it wasn't for this flat earth, I'd never have believed it. I'd never have believed it. I thank the Lord for, because he's opened my eyes on other things as well regarding, since I've discovered this, he's opened my eyes on other things.
Don't you think people who believe in globe earth could just as much be passionate about God and the Lord and Jesus and what he's done for us?
No, because you believe in Satan's deception.
Okay.
You believe in Satan's deception, he's got you straight away. You're not taking God's
So you can't
word
be a
for it.
Christian and believe in globe earth?
You're contradicting yourself, because you're saying you believe in God, but you're not listening to what God's told you. This is what I find with a lot.
You
of
mean
the
in
time
the
of it.
Bible?
And then people say, "Oh, don't take the Bible literally." Well, if that's the case, why read it? It's a comic book, then, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you
But again, with the Bible, like I said, 1500 before, yes. After, because this is when they took over the publishing.
So the
and
Bible
something.
is kind of like your
It's been
force
played
behind
with.
it.
Again, it's been played with. There's truth in it, but there's a lot of lies in it as well.
Do you think the Bible is kind of like your driving force for believing in this? It's kind of like your basis. If I took the Bible out of the equation, would you adopt globe earth more easily?
Well, the people behind this, they believe in the first 4 books. They won't have anything else. They believe in the first 4 books. And that's where it states about the earth being flat.
So I've got a very interesting question to ask you. Do you think people live around the edges? Any people live around the edges of the earth? Like the ends of the earth?
Well, again, we don't know. We're only going on... Well, we can't get down there. It's all Masonic. And if you know what Masonic is, this is what the world's run on at the minute. It's all
Right.
Masonic. The government, everything. What's happening in my town, everything. It's all done with the lodge. It's not the council. It's all coming from the lodge, and it's all to do with that. That's it. So,
Do you think people live there?
on Antarctica.
No, well, at the ends of the earth. I mean, the Bible talks about the ends of the earth. Do you think
Ends
people
of the
live there?
earth. There was a guy called Edward E. Bird. Now, there's a story about him, there's interviews with him from the 50s. It was after the war. He was a modern day, say, Indiana Jones type guy. And he went down to Antarctica. When he returned, operation was organised, but I believe it was Operation High Jump. And he returned to Antarctica with an icebreaker, an aircraft carrier, submarines, 10 warships, 4,500 military men, etc. down to Antarctica. And allegedly he was down there for a fortnight and they had to leave in a hurry. He was quoted as saying when they pulled in, I believe it was Chile, South America there, being interviewed, that there's a force down there that could travel from the south to the North Pole in an instant. And he got out there. But before getting out, they had flown some planes and they did see...
That North Pole is not the edge of the earth.
Not North Pole, no, he said they could fly from the north to the south to the
Okay,
north,
right.
what he discovered down
Yeah.
there. He discovered land, he reckoned it's full of natural resources, coal, all sorts
Where
down
is that?
there. Antarctica.
Okay.
It's full of natural resources. This is what he says. It's been interviewed on that, but again, when I say Richard E. Bird, more than likely
So,
there'll
are
be
you
a
saying-
Mason, and then you see you taking...
Can I ask, are you saying that there could be people there? Is that what are you trying to get to the point?
No. He said, well, he says there's land there. There's warm water. This is what this guy
What's
said.
your opinion? Do you think there are people or not?
My opinion,
Yeah.
I don't know, because Germany had a big interest down there.
No, I'm talking like 2,000 years ago. Were there people there?
Or if you go there, if you look at old maps, you can see that there was land. It wasn't ice.
Could be people there.
There was land, not ice. Could be. Definitely. Could be.
So
Could
people,
be.
that's not consistent with flat earth belief, but let's say it is. Those people who live there would know the earth is flat, wouldn't they?
If there's, I believe there's definitely other land somewhere.
Okay, and those people who are there would have to know that the earth is flat because they're right next to the edge, ends of the earth.
Well, we don't know. We keep going about the edge of the earth. I'll ask you,
Yeah.
Where's the end of this universe?
Okay.
This is where I want to know. Where's the end of this universe?
Well, that's okay, because we have a problem with describing the ends of the universe, but we don't have a problem describing the ends of the earth, because the end of the earth has got a boundary. Let me tell you why I said that.
It has got a boundary, but you can't get past that boundary. The military won't allow you to go past
this is where I'm
boundary.
going with this, so that you know. The Bible, does talk about the ends of the earth. This is probably where you would feel the Bible supports
the 4 corners of the earth.
It does talk about the 4 corners of the earth as well.
In which case, the earth
which in that case makes the earth a square rather than a circle, by the way. But let's just pretend the ends of the earth is a real thing. Let's just pretend that. This is a real interesting thing, because if you want to believe the Bible literally in that sense, because you say the Bible endorses the idea, then you would have to believe that there are people there, because the Bible talks about God commanding that people in Deuteronomy should repent and be saved who are at the ends of the earth. Now, if the whole idea of kind of believing the earth is we're being deceived because we're trying to tell that the earth is globe when it's round, and we're trying to deceive them to be away from God, well, people at the ends of the earth should know. Right? But what is interesting is that he's commanding them to repent. So that means people live there. Not only that, more interestingly, it does talk about people from the ends of the earth coming in and taking Israel, capturing them, and taking them to the ends of the earth. And then it talks later on about bringing them back from the ends of the earth. So tell me something. Why would people who live at the ends of the earth, if the whole idea of this conspiracy is to hide God from us, is that they don't know about God, they go and capture people that's God's people. If the Bible is referring to flat earth, then it made a lot of statements that would imply flat earth would not work under the biblical understanding. Like, for example, referring to people who go to the ends of the earth and they should repent, or being taken into exile to the ends of the earth, or being brought back from the ends of the earth, or be blessed to the ends of the earth. When the Bible talks about the ends of the earth, sometimes it doesn't mean the earth at all. Absolutely, the word eretz is sometimes used as a reference to say dry land, or sometimes it's used as a reference to say the area outside your immediate dwelling place. So sometimes when we take those verses literally, it'll end up taking us down a path that's not intended to, and we get misled. Okay, what do you think is happening when people go to the North Pole, or near the North Pole? We're talking like from England, that will be kind of near the top northern hemisphere. And people who are in the southern hemisphere, they're seeing a different set of stars completely. What do you think is happening there?
There is an explanation for that. There is an
Yes.
explanation that I can't really describe it.
Okay.
There is an explanation for it. When it's drawn out and shown, you can see how this
So
occurs.
it's kind of like a dome. That's what we're at the moment.
Yeah.
And then if you stand here, you see a completely different set of stars
So
versus
from
when
the
you stand...
northern, southern, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the way where you're situated. Yeah.
Tell me something else. Why is it people in the southern hemisphere see the stars moving in a different direction, like clockwise in the southern and anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere, which will fit with the Earth being a sphere? Down below, they see a different...
Well, I don't know about...
You've not seen that before?
No, not... You're going to try with the... Are you going to try with the water going down the plug hole as well?
No, I'm talking about looking with your camera, just in
no,
the...
I don't know.
And
I've
put it
never
on a
been to
time
the
lapse.
southern hemisphere. I have seen it on a video explained, but...
But that kind of doesn't...
yeah, what with everything else going on.
Is it... how would it affect you if it turns out the Earth is not flat? How would you feel?
I can't see it being in any other, mate. I can't see it being... There's no other way. There's no other way. There's no other way. I can't go back to the globe, mate, because I can't... I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. This is the thing. You've got to see it with your own eyes, not listen to books and everything. I mean, like I said, I believed in the globe. I had no reason to deny it. And then I've looked, and I've sat there and looked up at the stars. I've followed the moon, and when you watch that on a regular basis, that does some weird things. That moon does. That does some weird stuff. Yeah.
So would it affect your faith? Would you give up your faith if you found out that the Earth was a globe? If it turned out to be true?
Interglobe. I've got no fears. I'm safe with the Lord. I know that.
Nothing will change that.
No, nothing's going to change it now, mate. Nothing. Because you see, everything. We're looking on the globe. We're trying to get into too deep regarding vacuums and things. Let's just basic things. Let's look at the basic land-based things. How does water bend?
Okay, that does bring me up to my next question. Why is gravity a problem for flat earthers?
Because we had it earlier.
Why is that a problem?
You explain gravity to me then. You're always asking flat earth. You tell me what gravity is.
Okay, I can tell you. That's no
Tell
problem.
me.
Yeah, easy.
Tell me.
But first of all, just to make sure we understand each other, flat earthers are denying that there is such a gravitational pull between two objects. Yeah, why would you feel they have to deny that? Why can't they just accept it?
You see gravity. Now,
why not accept it is what I'm asking.
isn't it the gravitational pull that holds the moon in orbit?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And the reason that being is because the larger mass has a stronger pull than the smaller mass. So the moon's not pulling the Earth.
They both have a pull on each other.
Pulling. How can a smaller object have a pull on a bigger object?
They both pull towards each other. But why would
Well, if they're pulling towards each other, why we should be meeting then, shouldn't we? Surely. Not
Right.
staying apart. We should be pulling together.
Okay.
If they're pulling together.
That's a fair question. Can I please ask very quickly, before we get into the science of that, which I can do, by the way, why reject it even under the condition of a dome? Let's pretend we have a dome and the moon is inside and the sun is inside and all the stars are... Where are they, by the way? Are they painted on the dome, or are they real things?
Well, they're in the firmament, as far as we know.
They're
In
just
the Bible,
floating.
it tells you how he made it in the Bible. So you should
they're
know.
floating? They're floating? Yeah.
There are only stars in the sky.
Okay, that's all right.
You look at Mars. You look at it. It isn't the Mars you're shown on TV. That's all CGI and paintings. That's fantasy.
Okay, so why reject... Let's pretend all of that is true. Why reject gravity? Gravity? Why reject gravity? Let's pretend everything you said is true.
The only thing you're saying about gravity is that we're arguing over why that goes to the floor.
Yeah, but I call it gravity. Why do you
call it
reject
gravity,
it?
but what is gravity? What is there a magnet underneath? I mean, let's.
Why object to it is what I'm asking.
Why object to gravity?
Yes.
Because gravity. Yeah. I mean, this. I mean, come on. Where is it? It's here somewhere, matey. I've got the actual equation for gravity, and I just can't get my head around it.
Shall I give you the equation?
Go on then.
Which one do you want? The second law of Newton, or do you want the gravitational formula?
Well, let's give us the formula.
Which is F equals G times mass 1 times mass 2 over R squared?
Yes.
Right, so what's wrong with that?
And what's the other one?
F equals ma.
Well, this is what I've got. That was the gravity. That's the...
No, you're looking at the... Yeah, I told... Yeah, and the G
you
below
told
that...
Me top, yeah.
The top one is the one I gave you...
Why do you need that to tell you that something...
The top one...
You don't even know, nobody knows what's in the Earth.
The top one is the one I gave you first, and the bottom one is the big G, which is the constant of the gravitational value.
See,
the constant gravitational value.
You're not going to let go of your ball, are you?
No, I'm asking, why is that a problem? Why can't you accept that?
What, upset gravity?
Yeah, why would that be a problem in the flat
Because
Earth?
because it's a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah, but
it's
could
a lie.
gravity
Another one of
be
Satan's
true?
lies.
My question is, could gravity be true and at the same time flat Earth be true?
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Okay, and why not? Why not?
I wouldn't have thought so. Because it's just something that you're using for your globe model to use. So you've got something that... why is water stick around the ball? Gravity. Why does water flow uphill? Gravitate. It's always something. Gravity. It's something you've got an answer for everything. It's just one of them words that's
it.
out there.
It kind of bothers you that it feels like a magic word that
Yeah,
people
that's
use.
it. Anything. It's like you have an argument in today's world regarding most things. And it's racist. Just shut down the argument. Racist. Shut down the argument. Gravitate. Shuts down the argument.
Okay, but you don't think that there could be a reasonable case behind it, kind of thing?
What, gravity?
Yeah.
No. I mean, you've seen. Right. You splice the Earth. What you got?
Now we're talking about globe Earth, or
Yeah, globe Earth. You splice it. What you got?
they talk about being liquid iron, which gives us magnetic field and various other things. There are some theories. Nobody sliced it, so I guess there would be a theory that people would follow. What do you get with flat Earth?
Well, no, I'm just going back to the globe because when
That'll be like an iron
I've
core or
I've
something.
looked in exercise books, and especially for the children, for the kiddies, you see, they show you the Earth cut, and you've got a big molten ball in the middle, and all this lot, and all this is the interior. More brainwashing, because nobody's ever been down further than 7 miles. Nobody can drill down further than 7 miles, so nobody knows what's in the centre. If the Earth's the globe, then, sir, and I stand on the North Pole, get a spade, and I start digging, will I come out feet first at the bottom?
No, that's a misunderstanding of gravity. Gravity
No,
does-
no, it's not gravity. This is going through the Earth. This is the prime route. That's the Earth, North Pole, South Pole.
Yeah.
If I'm standing upright and I
Yeah.
start digging down, am I going to come out in Australia feet first?
Right. Okay, so understanding gravity gives the answer to that question. What happens is gravity pulls you to the center of an object. It doesn't pull you towards the surface of the object. It's the center of the
How
object.
do you know it's the centre? You just said we can't go further than 7 miles, so we don't know what's down there or anything.
Well, of course, we don't believe gravity.
Magnetic pull. That means everything's magnetic.
Have you heard of Henry Cavendish's experiment in 1798?
1798. Henry Cavendish.
Henry Cavendish.
Was that Bedford Canal?
No.
No.
He was trying to measure the density of the Earth. Have you heard of that experiment?
No.
Okay. He measured the density of the Earth, and then as a result of that, later on, they used some of these figures to measure the big G gravitational constant. And that big G turned out to be within about 1% or so of his original figures. So what he did then matched what we can do today. And he's proven through that, although that wasn't his intention, he wasn't trying to prove that gravity exists, but he's proven that two objects of a certain mass will pull each other at a certain strength, and that measurement helped them work out the density of the Earth based on how much the Earth pulls on us, for example, right? So he wasn't trying to prove gravity exists. They've already accepted that way in the past, right? He was just working out the figures. And he used Newton's gravitational formula for that. And it works perfectly. So the thing that you're rejecting has been proven with experimentation that you can do today, by the way. And I've repeated that not long ago myself because I want to see it with my own eyes. You see, to me, closed-minded means something different to you. Closed-minded to me means someone who's not willing to do the experiment and not looking at the facts. To you, closed-minded means that I should be willing to open up my mind and accept this thing. And I'm saying...
I'm saying open up your mind and look for your own self and make your own mind up rather than just sticking full on to this globe model.
Right.
You're not looking for the flat Earth. You don't want to know about the flat Earth. Well, you do, but you don't want to find out for yourself because as far as you're concerned, your globe, that's it, I'm sticking here. You're not looking at the other side. You're not opening up like I did to say, hang on, have I been lied to here? I can handle being lied to, but I don't like it. And I look into it and use my own eyes, and then through my own eyes,
Could you?
I don't need mathematical. I don't need a formula like that to tell me that is heavier than the molecular structure around it, so it falls to the floor. I don't need that big formula like that. It means absolutely jack.
But that big formula is interesting because it actually tells you how much that pull is, and it works every time. So what do you think is happening when it works every time?
It's just. I mean, why can't you turn the bubble round and point it at Earth? and put an end to this topic once for all. Show us Australia in real time, people walking upside down in real time. This will can zoom in galaxies of millions and billions of light years away, but you won't turn it around and point it at Earth. Why? Because one, there's no telescope.
How do you mean? Do you mean point at Earth and look at
Yes,
Australia being at the bottom?
Show us Sydney, people walking upside down on show us Sydney. Because that's what they're doing according to the globe, because it's round. And people up on there, they're not going to be upright, they're going to be upside down. Relativity, in their minds, they might be on the level, but when you're filming it, camera, they should be upside down. Show us it.
Right.
Simple as. Weather. 2020, you talk about satellites. Surely we should have a 24-hour weather channel and not rely on weathermen saying, and the pictures from the satellites, which are computer-generated images, let's have a real channel so we can flick it on. Channel 24, there it is over Britain, there, black cloud. We should be able to do that if the satellites, surely. But no, we can't do that. We can't do it. We've got the technology. We can have a Hubble that can zoom into millions and billions of light. But we haven't got a satellite that can give us a live feed, a live picture of Earth, so we can pick out the weather. No.
You know what's interesting? If you did go to Australia and looked at the sky, because you're nearer down to the edge of the dome, aren't you? You're not all the way, you're nearer. You should be able to look sideways and look at the stars moving sideways like that, because as far as the dome is concerned, everything is turning inside it, right? So you should be able to see it inside.
They go all ways when you see stars.
Well, I mean, it's like this when you're at the North Pole. It's like this when you're in the North Pole, isn't it? So it keeps going like that, because when you go around the edges, like you're in England and you go further down to Africa, you start seeing it. You see everything is surrounding that. And then when you're looking further down, that's when you're getting closer to the edge. You should see the stars going that way, but they don't see that. What do you think? Why do you think that's the case?
Why that is, then. It's something we'd have to look into.
And that's
something we're being not told. There's something there, you see. With these people, they don't want us knowing anything. They don't want us knowing anything. The less we know, we're slaves. We're only being told what they want us to know and keep us, cause division, so we'll never get anywhere with it. You know what I mean? We'll never get anywhere with it.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for...
No, it's a terrible interview, mate. I'll do it seriously, because it's really, really gone bad for me.
It's okay.
It's really gone bad for me, because it hasn't gone the way I wanted. I really am naffed off of it.
Steve, listen to me. Yeah. Everything you said is exactly what flat Earth people say. There was nothing different. It was all stereotyped.
It's all seeing. I want to say it's just using. One of the main things to look at.
You said all the things that were right as far as flat Earth is concerned. Don't hammer yourself.
It's like just basic things you see with your eyes. Your eyes are the most important.
So please don't. Honestly, everything you said is what I expected. Everything you said was in line.
No, it's with your eyes. It's with your eyes.
Well, some things we cannot see, right? Some things we cannot. We cannot see satellites.
Things that should make you say to yourself, yeah, he's right there.
But you know what's more important than you telling me about flat Earth is the Christian message. You understand that, right?
When nighttime, when the moon's out and it's pretty cloudy.
Yes. Are we having a second round?
And you see the clouds going by the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. The light there.
Yeah.
It just shines there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now that tells me it's local. Because if it was 250,000 miles away, like they say, it'd be lighting a lot more of the sky up. It's only lighting that little bit up there. Around it, what's passing by it. It's close. The sun's the same. People have got footage if you look for it. I mean, on YouTube now, forget it. I went on last night just to have a look to see what had happened, because YouTube's gone through a great purge lately. And everything that really would open your mind has been taken away.
Why can't I take you for lunch? And then you can tell me all these other things that's on your heart, and then you can share it with me.
You see, it's
You can tell me later. But
there's pictures of the sun going behind the
so,
clouds.
would you like to go out for lunch?
In front of clouds. We'll go for a walk then, go on. We'll go ahead then, sir.
There
No,
you go.
it's all right, man. I don't want you spending money on me.
Why not?
I'm all right, I'm all right.
Look, you spend your
Well, I'd
time.
just like to... Look,
and I
can just show you
appreciate it.
things and then I'll get off and I'll just things that...
course.
Just let me try to just to
Look,
put
this is-
something...
we
I've
can-
just got to try to
We
get
can do it
something
again
there.
if you want. We can do it again at a later date. It's not a problem.